Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
My nuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at my ass. Yuletide carols being sung by a choir. And neighbors shout, "Quiet!" to stem the singing fast. We all know a turkey and Greg's stuffing dry help to make the season bright. Heavy drinking adults hammered on Jim Beam won't find it hard at all to sleep tonight. They all know that Santa's on his way. Roofs ruined as he lands his bulky sleigh.
That's a fair comment.
Reindeer shit all across our front lawns before the beasts snort and fly away. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 93. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to
Jeremy is applauding back there. I am not certain he should be. Lucy is going along to support Jeremy. I'm not sure she should be either. A big upset in that song, though, I will say. Quite the lovely surprise. But an upset is that the voice would be good and the writing would be bad. That's not one that I had there because he's a professional writer, but he wants to evolve into a professional singer and broadcaster, but he doesn't know when Mike Ryan is talking in his headset or on the air. And so in the middle of his song, you also heard his voice live saying fair comment because Mike told him a Miller Lite rhyme was right there for him, but he chose not Miller Lite for some, well, because he's him.
I told him when I first heard it that there's a few opportunities here to change some lyrics to make it a little more funny, and he's just like, I like it the way it is.
Yeah, well, it's his song.
Exactly,
I mean, write your
right.
own, you know?
You ever go to Da Vinci and say, hey, about a little more paint here or there? And
Yeah.
you're like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mona Lisa smile should be a big grin.
Mm-hmm.
No, you do what you think is right.
Love your shirt. Is that the Dan Le Batard collection?
Thank you. It is, yeah. I cut down my own Christmas tree. I'm a lumberjack now.
The rare flannel in South Florida.
And I am warm right now, believe me. It's like so hot in here.
To be clear, we decided that all of that was not good enough for a lot of different reasons that we now offer critique on, and we punished it by leading the show with it. We decided to not reward him. Did you see the smile on his face? It's as happy as I've seen him in 6 months because he's like, wait, we're starting with something about me?
You know, sometimes when a great scoring two guard is struggling, they'll send him to the line for a technical free throw, even though he's not the best free throw shooter, to get him in rhythm. Mm-hmm. Call a couple plays for Greg Cody at the top. Maybe we'll get a better Greg.
I have for you guys, off of the top here, some Dolphin stuff.
Oof.
Stugotz lost so many bets last night.
Yep.
He was wandering around yesterday saying, I've got the Dolphins in all the teasers, and it's more money and more bets than I've ever made on anything.
When I went to bed last night, the Dolphins were up 14 points. And I figured when I wake up the next morning, okay, maybe I lose the straight-up bet because the Dolphins left the back door wide open. But never in my wildest dreams did I think I would wake up this morning and realize not only did I lose the straight bet, but I lost all my teasers. I had them wrapped in every single teaser. 8 teasers, to be exact. I lost them all.
When did you leave? You went to sleep when they were up 14?
Yeah. No. I got home, and they were up 14. And I went to bed. I figured the game was over.
You left the watch party, and thank you to everybody who came. God, so many people flew in from all over just for a day. Hugely moving and flattering, and I will say, without getting lost in it, to all of you who always come to us and say we dragged you through a dark time, I needed what you brought me last night because it was really nice to see people fly in from all over just to sit at a bar in a mall and watch a game with us and tell us how much they care about us. But in the middle of it was the single funniest game result that you could ever get if you're our show. We will get to video shortly here of Lewis from video just despondent, wandering around, because what happened last night in the game, I simply cannot remember a Dolphin game that felt like that for a variety of reasons. They have dared to give us reasons to hope in this region. We do not trust this team. We expect that in December, but this team's going to be different. And before December gets hard, that's the one you're going to lose that way? Because Chris Cody and others had already banked that one. Stugotz said everyone had banked that one. I'm telling them, hey, football's football, man. Don't just tell me you think you're going to win all the games because the schedule's easy. Last night, footballed in both games. But what I want to talk about in what is happening as we enter December, Stugotz, and December's hard. And I'm telling you now, I fear that Buffalo's better. And I feared it all year, and it's not because of that game last night. I just think Buffalo's very good, and because I've been in this market long enough, I, like so many people on my text strings last night, felt the feeling of the irrational, emotional hyperventilation of this feeling right here tonight is worse than a 1-15 season because that 1-15 season, I didn't hope for shit. I didn't think, I'm not saying it's reasonable. I'm not thinking it's sane, but I'm telling you, Dolphin fans have something here where they've dared to trust this team. And last night, that trust was betrayed in a way that we haven't seen all season. And if they can't actually beat a good team, at least they'd allowed us to reside in the comfort of they're not going to lose to any of the bad ones. And they lost to a bad one last night in an inconceivable fashion. At the end of that game, Stugotz, the win probability was 99.7 for the Dolphins. They were up 14 with 4 minutes left in the football game.
3 minutes to go, actually.
But they also, watching the game, had no business being up 14. They got lucky with those turnovers where they got those turnovers. That game seemed to shift, but then at the end, it kind of went right back to where it had been all day long.
I agree with everything you just said, but the only thing I'm holding on to is that every good team in the league has kind of done this. You lose against a bad team. We'll give you one.
Yes, but what every team in the league has not done, $5 for the phlegm in your voice at the end.
Rough night, Dano.
He battled. By the way, it should be noted that even though you might find some agreement with your take that Buffalo is better, still plus money to make the playoffs for Buffalo. They put themselves in quite the hole this season.
But Buffalo beat Miami 48-20.
I'm not. Sometimes better teams miss the playoffs.
Right.
And sometimes the lesser teams win the division. By the way, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think Miami's still a good team, and this stuff tends to happen during a season. However, that was the rare game you had no business even winning that you somehow blew in improbable fashion. It was a bizarre game because the Dolphins played like garbage.
This will all depend going forward on Tyreek Hill and his health, right? Because without him, they were dreadful. When he came back, they were fine. I mean, he's the MVP. He is the MVP of the NFL.
They weren't fine. He gave the offense a spark, but they still had plenty of help from Will Levis on their touchdowns and special teams plays. Like they really didn't. That game got up to a 14-point spread, and it had no business being there.
The first 3 quarters of that game were dreadful. The fourth quarter was amazing. I object to a couple of things you have said because when you talk about Buffalo's playoff chances, you are correct. But because of what happened last night, the division is still in play. And you can say Buffalo's schedule is tough, but so is Miami's. And I think Buffalo is a better football team. I've thought it for 2 years, but we will see what happens. You are right. Buffalo might not make the playoffs. But the part I object to more is what Chris Cody is saying. When he says we've seen football teams do this all year, this is footballing. No, we haven't seen football teams, A, do this, lose in a heartbreaking fashion that shakes your fan base. And also, you had the number 1 seed in your sights, home field, it was all there for you, and you choked it up at home against a bad team on national television. We have not seen that happen this year to anybody. No, there's nobody in the league that has happened to where they've got everything lined up. It almost happened to Baltimore. On Sunday.
It's happened to the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago.
And the Jags.
Right. Just hold. Everyone calm down.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they still play Baltimore later this season. It was a loss. It was a bad loss. Yeah. But if Tyreek Hill is fine, I believe the Dolphins will be fine.
A margin of error that went away.
I don't know if Tyreek Hill is fine. And when you tell me that this happened to Kansas City, no, Kansas City did not lose to Tennessee. Tennessee's bad. It's a bad football team. Like they're not. Buffalo's not bad. Kansas City lost to Buffalo at home. None of these teams lose to a 2-touchdown underdog. Tennessee has no reason in that game to do anything other than fall down on the floor. The problem is that Vrabel will give his dick in order to win a Super Bowl.
Eagles lost to the Jets.
Earlier this season. Yes.
I just think that...
And the Chiefs lost to the Broncos when the Broncos were bad, but now the Broncos, watch out for them.
And Will Levis told us after the game that's a special group they got there.
I don't like him.
But Dan makes a good point. Mike Vrabel would give up his dick. I mean...
Why don't you like Levis?
Veiny arms.
I mean, look at him. You know why I don't like him. I don't think there's even words. I think everybody kind of gets the same feeling, right? You look at him, you're just like, I don't like him.
If he's on your team, you like him?
No.
Not really?
No.
Even if he's on your team helping you win football games.
I mean, he also almost cost them that football game
I
1,000
understand,
times.
but
that is one of the worst pitches I've ever seen in my entire life. How do you throw it over and behind Derrick Henry's head? How did that happen? I don't like him.
Greg Cody, give us the perspective as the homer who had to rewrite that column 3 times last night.
Yeah,
you wrote every column last night, and then the one you filed in the last 5 minutes could not have been something you were very proud of, given the insanity of trying to write the column differently 3 different times with 9 minutes to spare.
That's correct. To the point where on the Bright Line train coming to the studio for this show, I was essentially tweaking the column to make it a little bit more presentable because it was terrible last night. It was one of the weirdest, strangest games I've ever had to write or watch or endure. And here comes the homer in me. You're going to tease me for what I'm about to say. The reaction to this loss is amusing to me. They're 8-1 against teams that they should beat. Okay, 8-1. That's pretty good. I believe in the law of averages. I believe they were due for a game like this. And what's amazing is how everybody, including my wife, who's a bigger Dolphin fan than I am, she's like, these were the same old Dolphins. These were the Dolphins we're used to. Okay, they had a shit game. They did. They were terrible. And Tyreek Hill's missing a quarter and a half of the game certainly didn't help.
And Armstead being out and them losing Connor Williams early in the game.
Yeah, that was huge because Tua is not great under pressure.
He has not been rushed like that all season.
No, he hasn't.
That has not happened all season where he's got 5 sacks and he's in trouble all game, and at the end of the game you don't have much confidence they're going to be able to get down the field.
Right, and for the first time this season, you had an occasion to see him sacked and hope he got up right away because this is the concussion issue raising its ugly head. Listen, they can still win. They're still the favorite to win the AFC East. The number 1 seed is still in play. The team has a statement to make against the Jets. I thought the Jets would be the tougher game than Tennessee. That's the dispiriting part of it. But if they beat the Jets, they're still going to have reached the 10-win mark more quickly on the calendar than any Dolphin team since 2000. The good season they're having at 9-4 is not abandoned. There's no need to go back to square one and panic.
Now, there's still 97% to make the playoffs. So the discussion we should be having here is just what do we project them in the playoffs? And I have to admit, I said it like a week ago. Tua makes me nervous. When you look around the league at other quarterbacks, as much as I love his accuracy, when everything is perfect, I love Tua. But last night you saw it on the final drive. When shit breaks down, he's not getting out of that pocket.
Right.
And I'm just saying, I'm still pro Tua, but you just can't look at him and think he's on the level with these other guys outside the pocket. I could rattle off 7 quarterbacks: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Herbert's hurt, but there's Jalen Hurts. Everybody, when they get out of the pocket, I'm terrified. When Tua, when it breaks down, the other teams are happy.
I don't like this. I feel like Dan and Chris are looking for a reason to be Dolph out, and they've just been waiting for it all season long, and they've been waiting for a reason to criticize. Chris has been over here, a secret Chargers fan the whole time. It didn't
3
work
years
out
ago
for him.
You tell him, Billy.
He's here, and he's back on the Dolphins thing, but he's always kind of been out on the Dolphins.
So you like Tua out of the pocket?
You guys
when
just
shit
want to
breaks,
be.
so
You
don't
guys
like.
just
Can we
wanna
talk
be
about the
Dolph
game,
out.
or you want to just
No.
do this like
You either like him or you don't
Dolphin,
like
Dolph
him.
out?
Exactly
Let's
right.
talk about it.
No,
Hey,
you guys
he
just
was
wanna
getting
be
somewhere,
Dolph out.
Chris.
Exactly right.
We like talking in general terms.
I just want to talk about Tua.
No, you guys want to have reasons to criticize and complain about this team that has given you a 9-4 start so far.
Can I be Dolphin?
You can be Dolphin,
Good.
but
I
we
like
need to
them.
decide today.
I think
because
good.
come playoff time, we're not going to be the Dolphins fan and the Dolphins show again when the going got tough and you guys got going.
It sounds to me like everybody could use a hug because a hug is always the right size.
Winnie the Pooh, go sit in the penalty box.
What?
For 2 minutes.
Tries so
please.
hard.
Is that even like an expression of Winnie the Pooh?
That he's trying to. He's got a lot of punishments that he's got to.
How is he always losing? Or is just no one else doing anything?
I think Teron Armstead and Connor Williams are more important than Tua.
Oh my God!
Oh, wow.
I think without them, I don't think we're gonna like the offense.
You're reeling, man. I mean,
We need our left tackle and center.
I understand
Look
talking
at the games we've played this year without them.
Chris,
strong,
I get
man.
talking about injuries. Tennessee, on top of being a bad team, they were also pretty hurt. I mean,
They had a hurt corner.
The injury excuse doesn't really match up when you're playing the Tennessee Titans.
And we can talk about Tua if you want, because we do get obsessed with these things, okay? And I understand. And Billy, it is a good point that you are making, and I do think over the course of this show, we should identify on charts and with notarized witnesses who's Dolphin and who's Dolph out.
I'm Dolphin. I'm allowed to have a thought.
yeah, that's
I'm allowed to
debatable.
just have a thought about Tua.
You don't get to
vote.
decide. I think, you know what? I don't think anyone else can actually even say if they're Dolphin or Dolph out. I think we all need to vote on if someone's Dolphin or
Like
Dolph
Survivor
out.
style.
Can I start by saying I trust Tua outside the pocket?
There you go.
Because I love him like a son.
Mike, I vote Dolph in.
wow.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes. In fact, okay, Billy, we will figure out how to do that before the end of the show in committee form or survivor form, who's Dolphin and Dolph out. But as you talk about Tua and as you talk about their offensive line and as you talk about Stugotz, you talk about Tyreek Hill for MVP.
Yes.
It does sort of ignore that with 4 minutes left in that game, they had a 14.2 touchdown lead, and it was the absolute fault of the defense that allowed a bad football team to go down the field twice, and the second time, Stugotz, in 2 chunks
Yeah.
that you would have expected from the Dolphin offense all season, the way that they play football. That Dolphin defense fell apart, and what now comes for Tua as his offensive line falls apart is all of the criticism, because nobody's going to be blaming the defense today nationally. It's going to be about questioning Tua. Nationally, the conversation is going to be, I don't trust the Dolphins, and I don't trust the quarterback because they can be slowed, and it's going to be ignored that they were up 2 touchdowns in that game, and the defense totally fell apart.
But the argument can be made the defense also got them in that game.
Yes.
Because they had the turnovers. They got them to the field position. One of them was special teams where there was that botched punt where they recovered on like the 10-yard line or whatever. But the defense had turnovers. They had an interception return for a touchdown. They had a fumble recovery that put them right in the end zone. So like it was a weird defensive game because they did blow it at the end and they gave back the lead, but they also got them in the position to get that lead.
The conversation is always about the quarterback. When they win, he gets all the praise. When they lose, he's the guy that gets blamed. Dan, he did have opportunities. Even when they scored and got it to a 7-point game, They had an opportunity to put the game away with a drive, and he couldn't do it.
Offensive line.
They had the ball last. You can blame Tua all you want, but I prefer not.
They left a lot of points on the board as well. They're very cute inside the red zone. Just run it down their throats.
Stugotz, they've been the best red zone team in the league. They were cute last night because they didn't get what you wanted, but they've been the best red zone team in the league on offense. And I would just consult you. I know you're not going to listen to me on this.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the conversation is all about Tua because I'm just going to do quarterback either wins or loses, and that's what I'm going to do. A 99.7% winning percentage, Tua was on the sideline when they had that. He wasn't playing.
Right.
He wasn't in the game to get tackled by his offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And with 4 minutes left in a football game they had at home, and not only at home, Stugotz, with a crowd that was pumped up because the previous 4 minutes were nuts.
Right.
Like what the Dolphins did in the fourth quarter before that were nuts. So the crowd is elevated, and you let Will Levis go right down the field on you in chunks. Like that, what does Tua have to do with that? Explain to me what Tua has to do with that.
I want to be Dolphins, so Tua was great last night.
I do have a question about Tua. Not doubting his prowess, but what's with the fumbles? 13 games played, 12 fumbles.
He could take you out, too. You know that.
One of those crucial in the red zone when it looked like they drew up an interesting play for Achane to get in the end zone. I would have appreciated that. Just drops the ball. I mean, this is ridiculous. This copious amount of fumbles. He's had this problem throughout his career. He's damn near averaging a fumble a game. I mean, we saw the difference. Look at Sunday Night Football. What was the difference between the Eagles and Cowboys on Sunday night? The Cowboys got 3 of their fumbles. In their first matchup that the Eagles were kind of lucky to win, that they thoroughly outplayed Dallas, they got back all their fumbles. So the difference between those two teams is fumbles lost. It's a huge...
It's all foul. I'm sorry.
No, wait.
I'm
just saying clean it up.
Yep.
How about this?
He's only lost 5.
How about this? Jason Sanders, kick the ball between the giant yellow things you need to kick the ball between.
Billy's Dolph out.
Enough of no.
Billy say he doesn't like the team.
No, Sanders is gone. Sanders is getting cut.
Whoa.
What?
Sanders
He may still be on the team tomorrow, but he needs to get cut. Not on his kicking leg, but he needs to get cut.
Like physically?
By whom? Who do you want
I
to?
would never send anyone to do such a thing, Dan. That's irresponsible.
But you're afraid he's going to get cut by somebody because...
I'm just worried. I mean, how many warnings can someone get and not change their behavior? He's been warned.
I mean, Billy,
ship up or ship out.
Billy
He's
sounds
been
Dolph.
warned.
He sounds Dolph out to me.
Stugotz is right here.
What do you mean?
How
What
many
did I
times
do?
can you be warned and not change your
Why are
behavior?
you making this about me? I
Well,
mean,
because he just
he's
said
talking
how
about
many
a kicker.
I know, but Jason Sanders only been doing that for a couple of years. You've been doing it for a couple of decades.
That's true.
Cody's the same. And what happens?
Kick the ball higher. How about don't get blocked? I don't understand that. How does it get blocked? You know, there's kick. I don't know if Jason Sanders knows this. So, like, Jason, you know that the NFL now is just picking up random guys from the USFL that can go 30 for 30, right? Like, that have perfect field goal percentages, that kick the ball 67, 80 yards if they need to, and they're perfect at doing it. You're getting too comfortable, bud. I know it's holiday season, and no one wants to do what needs to be done, but kick it between the yellow posts.
It's not that difficult.
Thank you. Greg's done it. I watched Greg do it.
Yeah, I kicked a 50-yard
It might be from 80.
field goal.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, it's pointless to parse this loss because there's blame to go around. I thought the point of this game was that the Dolphins did virtually nothing right. They were awful all over the field. The defense was horrific late. The red zone offense was terrible. Tua wasn't great. Tyreek Hill got injured. They had a field goal blocked. They were just terrible. It was a terrible game, and they almost lucked out a win because it would have been lucky had they won on 2 gift turnovers.
Stugotz was so close to having an easy cover.
Yeah.
When the Dolphins that entire game seemed like there was no way, no way that they were going to cover 13 or 13 and a half.
I couldn't believe it.
And then they got 2 quick touchdowns, and the game was clearly over. Clearly and obviously over. There was no circumstance under which, like, at that point, you're saying to yourself, only if they recover an onside kick.
Yes.
Like, there's just no way that offense is going to be able to get down the field. Yeah. Fuck off, Dan. We will get to Pablo Torre in just a second. Pablo Torre finds out has been voted the best podcast in America, sports podcast in America.
He's coming out again?
He is coming on again. God bless football. Although it deserves to be voted the best podcast in America, it was not, because these things can be subjective. And Pablo Torre won this round. But before we get to that, Lucy, you and Roy were profoundly disgusted by the amount of honey that Winnie the Pooh was actually eating. That was not a bit. That was actual honey. It did look disgusting.
It had to be like a full cup of honey that Jeremy just, I don't,
It's gross.
Ate? What's the...
All I have put in my body today is 3 cups of coffee and an entire cup of honey.
Go to the penalty box.
Don't let him fool you. He said in the break that he's jittery.
Go back to the penalty box, please. Put it on the poll as well at Le Batard Show. Do you drink honey or eat it at Le Batard Show?
I drink it.
Is it a liquid?
Please.
Viscous fluid.
It's a condiment, no?
What?
It's a condiment.
I think it's a hybrid.
So
It would be in the condiment aisle, no?
Put it on the poll as well, Juju. Is honey a condiment at
No.
Le Batard
Isn't a
Show?
condiment shit you dip shit in?
That's a dip.
That's Merriam-Webster right there.
That is great.
It was a transition from liquid to condiment. That got me on that one.
If I can pour it on something and eat it or dip something in it, it's a condiment, folks.
Damn right. Honey never goes bad, by the way.
Right.
That's not true.
No, you could eat that cup of honey 100 years from now, and it would still be delicious.
Put it on the poll,
Unless
please.
it crystallized.
It is considered a condiment, Dan.
Thank you.
Put it on the poll, please.
For best quality store honey up to 12 months.
They're lying. They're forced to say that. You know, there's expiration dates.
Right.
Yeah, the government forces you to put an expiration date on something. Honey, oil, there's certain things that just last
Big honey.
infinitely.
Just dying to learn what we're putting on the poll here.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your effort there. Is honey just shit you dip shit in at Le Batard Show?
No, that's the definition of a condiment, Dan.
Not honey.
Okay.
Misspoke, but
my
they
bad.
froze the kicker.
Yes, you guys did freeze the kicker. There, the video is up now. Please put it up of Jeremy just swilling nonstop honey.
That's great.
Is he jaundiced?
What is the most disgusting thing anyone like that has had to endure on the show? Billy was hospitalized for eating an onion, and Pablo Torre had to eat pickled pig's feet. Mike Ryan.
The pig's feet is the worst. Nothing is worse than Mike Ryan buying off of Amazon.com pickled pig's feet, whose color was described in that way where there's like a number. It was like red number 786, and I had to eat it.
Put it on the
Slowly.
poll, please, as well, Juju. What is more disgusting, to eat pickled pig's feet or tripe with hair on it? Because Mike Ryan ate tripe with hair on it. And we have consumed no shortage of disgusting things. I don't think honey's going to end up qualifying in order to win this particular contest. Pablo, I wanted to talk to you about a number of things, though. One of them, the Ohtani contract. What's most interesting about everything happening there to you? I don't even understand how that business and its union can allow that much deferred money for Ohtani to bet on America and the American economy in a way that he is allowing so much deferred money that he is hoping that baseball and Bally's and the economy do not collapse. He is trusting the American economy with those deferments.
He's hoping the Dodgers are good for it. I mean,
Yes, nobody has more faith in no one is longer on the human race than Shohei Ohtani at this point. He's like, we'll be good in like 10 to 15 to 20 years, right? Just pay me then. What makes me laugh about this, though, is how much it makes David Samson angry. Because, of course, this is a thing that really only the Dodgers can get away with, because the Dodgers, in all likelihood, are, in fact, good for it. And so Ohtani's like, I don't really need the money right now. The Dodgers are like, we need the money right now. And so it reminds me why it is that sports and leagues don't actually like having super rich people be new owners, because it makes all of the other owners with less money look terrible. And they have competitive disadvantages. And it reminds me of, like, why is Jeff Bezos not an owner of an NFL team? Why is Matt Ishbia, mortgage lender, the owner of the Suns? It's because it feels like that owner is a guy who's a lot like the majority of owners, who's a very, very rich man, but not Los Angeles Dodgers $700 million fucking rich.
Explain the Bezos thing to people, because I don't think they've considered the idea that other owners would be threatened by someone like him. I know that that the basketball owners are threatened by Ballmer because when it comes to being in that club, there are guys who are a lot richer than the other guys, and the guys who are not as rich, and it's almost always guys, they feel the threat and the insecurity in that.
Yeah, I think it's a parallel dynamic with the NFL, and I'm sure there are other complicating factors with the NFL specifically via various financial strictures. But the point is, if you are competing in the NFL, and a lot of these are like inherited assets, do you want to compete against the richest man in the world? It's a really fun thing for the NFL to hypothetically proclaim, look who is in our team now, look who's in the most exclusive club in America now. But if you're actually, any of these other teams, you don't want to go up against Bezos. No, you don't want to make your life harder because the guy you're competing with is now a zillion times richer than you.
Well, this is one of the things I find interesting about how it is they've suppressed prices throughout sports, where we all realize, well, wait a minute, if they can afford $700 million, what can't they afford? But by having a salary cap in football and not having one in baseball, you end up with Ohtani getting twice as much as Patrick Mahomes. Whereas if Patrick Mahomes were allowed to compete against Jerry Jones and anybody just saying we need a quarterback and there is no salary cap, Patrick Mahomes would be earning a good deal more than Ohtani because he's worth a good deal more than Ohtani because football's worth a good deal more than baseball.
Yeah, the analog here is what the Saints have been trying to do. The Saints have been like pushing back and back and back all of the payments they have. They're trying to, again, pay guys in the present, pay for them in the future, more than the present. And the reality is that the Saints are not in a good place because of the cap. And in the scenario you described, Dan, and this is the parallel to like what would LeBron James make without a max contract, without a salary cap? Probably $100 million a year. Ohtani is showing that this is in fact what the wealthiest would pay if you left them alone to their own devices.
Pablo,
and it is pretty much everything.
LeBron would make a lot more than $100 million a year. Messi's making almost what Ohtani does in half of the amount of time. Like when there is no salary cap and rich people and Saudi oil is involved, like it would be
that's the other thing.
LeBron would get $1 billion. He would easily make $1 billion. And the idea that Patrick Mahomes is cheap compared to Ohtani is pretty silly, given that football's owners are a good deal richer than baseball's owners.
$450 million over 10 years for Mahomes. That was the previous North American record. Ohtani now is like, I'll take a couple mil on the front end, but just give me everything else. Yeah,
but Dan is right. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in a free market with no salary cap, he'd get $1 billion from Jerry Jones. He would.
The desperation is real. That much is true.
Pablo, what else did you find interesting about the Ohtani contract?
Well, I like that we should just basically contract the Angels at this point. Like, that was my big takeaway. It's like, oh, wait, so he doesn't want to leave Los Angeles. He had a team with plenty of talent on it with Mike Trout. And the Dodgers are just coming along and saying, you know what? It doesn't seem like you guys were ever in the conversation. I laugh at the ways in which other teams thought they were in the game. And the Angels, Dan, might not even be the funniest one. Of course, it was the Blue Jays, right? The fact that Robert Herjavec or whatever walked off of a private jet that everyone got turned into QAnon, by the way. That's what I laugh at the most over the weekend. It's the idea that everybody in sports media turned into QAnon, tracking private jets, trafficking rumors. There's a sushi restaurant with 50 Japanese people renting it? That's Ohtani. It's like, all right, I guess. And then you have to follow-up call, and it was like, no, that was like someone's birthday party or something, or there wasn't even a sushi restaurant that can afford to have 50 Japanese people at it. And then it was this private jet arrives from Southern California in Toronto, and off of the plane steps one of the Shark Tank guys, Robert Herjavec. And it's just like, it was Geraldo's vault, but sports. It was incredible.
Lucy, do you know what Geraldo's vault is? Because it's so far in our past.
Nope, never heard of that.
Go ahead and explain, Pablo, to Lucy what Geraldo's vault is. Jeremy doesn't know either.
I don't know if I'm the most qualified person with Greg Cody sitting right there to explain Geraldo to people.
Geraldo Rivera on live national television opened a safe of some sort said to be Al Capone's, and they teased it for hours. And when they opened the safe, there was nothing in it. There was not even a Shark Tank member.
Incredible work by the YouTube DraftKings Network video team showing a mustachioed Geraldo in front of a big vault with nothing in it.
That's right.
Literally nothing.
So good, though.
What a mustache.
Great television.
Dragged it on for days.
It was so great. Great television. The mustache. Great television. The workers with mustaches.
Hard hats.
Great television with there was nothing in the vault, and America was glued to its televisions. What am I to do with the following fact that is absolutely true? The Angels will pay Anthony Rendon $19 million more next season than the Dodgers will pay Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, that stinks.
What's amazing, there was that joke, I'm sure you guys saw it over on Twitter or whatever it is we're calling it now, where it was like the Oakland Athletics are offering to pay Shohei Ohtani $1 for 700 million years. And that is basically what the Dodgers are doing. The Dodgers figured out how to actually do that. So, yes, everybody else, the reason why Samson is mad, of course, is I think a couple of reasons, if I can psychoanalyze him from afar. Number one, he's mad he didn't think of this. Number two, he's imagining if he was running the Angels, for instance, or let alone the Marlins, and he's like, I can't compete with this. What am I supposed to do? So he's very mad about that. And third, I think there is the self-loathing of just like, oh, my God, I can get away with paying someone nothing for so long, effectively. And who knows what happens later? It's a David Samson dream, except it's a nightmare because he can't actually profit from it.
Forgive me, I got the stat wrong. Rendon is not being paid $19 million more than Ohtani next season. He is being paid 19 times more than Ohtani next season. So he's making $38 million next season. And
he will be watched by 19 people in the process of doing so.
Less than 30 seconds. Pablo Torre finds out. What do we have on it? What are we to expect?
Yes, today's episode is very different from any episode we've done. And I'm going to say some words that will make Stugotz, I think, both intrigued and also wonder, really, he's going to try to do this. We did an episode about Israel. We did an episode about the Middle East and war and hostages. And we did real reporting. And we figured out a way to tell this as a sports story in a way that helps explain the right-wing politics of Israel and also helps explain the hostage crisis in a way that actually foreshadows where this might be going next. There are two rival teams. One of them is the preferred team of the administration, the right-wing government in Israel. The other one is the opposite, their rival enemy. And that is the team of one of the hostages who was taken. It's fascinating. Amos Barshad at The Lever reported it for us. I'm really proud of it. It's 42 minutes. Even if you like poop jokes, even if you like laughing at Jeremy Taché being dressed as a fetishistic Winnie the Pooh, I think you should find time in your day for this. I think it's an important story in a legitimate way. And I am glad, actually, that we're talking about it.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, guys.
I wanted to ask Pablo, but we ran out of time, and Mike Schur is coming on later to give us a stat, and I'm sure we'll talk about Ohtani. The Dodgers are going to sell in 10 years, right? Like, you should sell the team before you have to pay someone $680 million.
That's what David Samson did with the Marlins. They did that with Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, they traded Stanton.
I know, but the way that they sold the team with the understanding
well,
they'd never
technically didn't trade him, but yeah.
They'd never have to get to pay the brunt of that contract, they'd be able to trade it. It was the move. They increased the value of their franchise out of nowhere. People were wondering, why would the Marlins, a notoriously cheap franchise, give Giancarlo Stanton that much money? And it's because you increase the value of your franchise so that you can sell it down the road and you don't actually have to pay the money. They can afford this stuff with their regional television contract. They've got the biggest one in the sport. It's the biggest advantage in the sport to be able to have more money than everyone else and just pay other players because your made-for-TV product makes more money than everyone else.
Is this player worth it? Seriously, is he worth $700 million? I'm not certain any player is worth $700 million, but Dan, I'm going to say it, he's overrated. Shohei Ohtani is overrated. He has had one 100 RBI season. One. He has never taken his team to the playoffs. The next playoff game he plays will be his first playoff game of his career. He can't pitch next year. $700 million seems like a lot of money for a guy who's 29 years old and had one 100 RBI season and couldn't make it to the playoffs with Mike Trout. He's overrated.
You could have ended that sentence many words earlier by just simply saying $700 million is a lot of money, period.
I was rolling.
That no one is worth, probably in sports or outside of sports, because it's such an enormous amount of money. But if any player in baseball were worth that amount of money, this would be the one.
I'm not so certain.
Okay, you cannot be so certain. You're using terrible stats. Like, it's not just that you're not using the advanced stats.
You want the OPS? You want some of that? Because he's been over 900, I think, twice in his career, 1,000 once. That was last year. That was his best year of his career at the age of 29. Every other year, it's been like 800, 850, 848. I mean, he's overrated.
It's a hard act to follow. But
Billy, let me try it this way, okay? Before the contract, he wasn't overrated. But now that you attach $700 million to Shohei Ohtani, overrated.
Correct.
Thank you.
I love how you're holding the 95 RBIs the last 2 seasons against him.
Get 100.
It's an interesting game where you figure out how do you manage to hit 45 home runs and only have 95 RBIs. It's because of the Angels.
That's
but
correct.
It seems impossible.
It does seem hard, but also though I believe that I'm inching towards Stugotz's side, where if Ohtani had just gotten me to the helpful round number of 100 there instead of 95.
Right.
I'd be willing to cast aside all my other more informed baseball knowledge and just say, yeah, I'm more comfortable with the nice fat round number of give me an extra 0 in there so I can make him not overrated.
But by deferring all the money, it's perfect because now he's not overrated until 10 years from now because he's only making $2 million next year. So actually, he's the best value player in baseball.
You do have to wonder, though, like, this is going to be a second Tommy John surgery. Like, how good is he going to be when he comes back as a pitcher?
Right.
He'll never pitch again.
Yeah.
I don't believe he will.
You
They'll
think
concentrate on his bat.
They paid him $70 million to get 95 RBIs a year?
Well, maybe he'll get an extra 5 and everybody will be happy.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Jeremy, please put on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show, is Ohtani overrated? And just put a bunch of zeros as the O in overrated on the front end of that. Jeremy, I'd like to do a top 5 list with you. Just find as fast as you can on the internet over here, and I'll come to you in a couple of seconds. The silliest payments in baseball. Just find for me a bunch of them and put together a top 5 and let me know. You're a high achiever. It's kind of annoying. You are a theater kid, a performer. You are somebody who moves very fast. So just scour the entirety of the internet and give me a top 5 list on all silly payments. But Stugotz, I don't know if he's going to pitch. It's actually a reasonable concern because one of the reasons that he's Babe Ruth in the modern form, the only reason he's Babe Ruth in the modern form, is because he does both things. And he does both things in a way that have value and is stupefying. I would never call such an athletic feat under any circumstance overrated. To be great at those 2 things in that sport, he is properly rated. You cannot rate that highly enough. There is no player like him anywhere in the sport. And you have to go back 100 years when Babe Ruth was playing against people who had second jobs as plumbers to find anything like this.
I understand that. He was 10-3 last year, had a 3.14 ERA, 3 basically a 3 ERA for his career, Dan. But if he can't pitch, that's problematic. Like, that is. Like, you're signing him to that deal because you're hoping he can both, he can both hit and he can pitch. And if he can't do one of those two things, I question whether or not he's worth $700 million. I'm telling you, the contract has everything to do with it. Like, when you attach that amount of money to someone, suddenly they look overrated in your eyes.
But you are someone who knows sports enough to know that this is not your money.
Right.
And so the Dodgers don't actually have to spend their money wisely. They just have to get stars and keep the buzz around, and it doesn't matter how they get the stars. They need to get their programming. Stugotz, don't think of this as, well, is he going to be someone who helps them win a title? That's the reason they're trying to get him.
Sure.
But the functioning of the business that allows for the contract, hey, get me an LA star. LA loves stars. We need stars. The Dodgers have failed. The Braves are better. The Braves are younger. We took Freddie Freeman, and we're still not good enough because the Braves are going to be here for a while. How do we fix this? Get another television star.
Right.
That he's a baseball star is also nice, but get me in Hollywood someone who feels big, who's going to put more people in my ballpark. These aren't even, I mean, you can say they're baseball moves, but if we're talking about it, we're not talking about the baseball parts of this. We're talking about this because of the money parts of this, and as a business move. This is the Dodgers going Hollywood. We're going to, all of it is. It's also the tracking of him on airplanes where it's like, wait a minute, baseball never feels like this. This is an investment you spend in order for your television program to be a nightly thing that has a star in the middle of it.
It feels a bit unfair, though, right? Like the Dodgers, the rich get richer. I understand what you're saying. It's good for the team. It's good for TV contracts. It's good for the fans in L.A. I understand that. It's great for Ohtani, right? He's got $770 million. But it just seems, I don't know. It seems like people are upset because the rich are getting rich. It feels like the Yankees, Dan. Back in the day when they were spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year, it's like, man, how many stars do you need? Let's spread the wealth a little bit. But there's an expectation with the Dodgers when a big free agent comes up, they have to be in the game and probably get that guy. And they got him.
Well, that's why the contract is somewhat annoying if you're a baseball fan, because it's the rich getting richer at $2 million a year. So now the money that they were going to commit, they now can commit to yet another star that they can get, where in any other case, it's like, well, you only have enough money for so many stars. But if you're paying him $2 million, now you can go get someone else on top of him.
I'm surprised the Players Union allowed this kind of a deferral of that much, of such a high percentage of that contract, because that could become a trend that essentially allows you to ridiculously back-end the contract. That's what the Marlins did to a much lesser degree with Giancarlo Stanton when it was back-ended, and the Marlins knew that he was going to be traded long before the end of that contract. But this is taking it to an extreme degree. You know, you can do it, obviously, but I think the Players Union is going to stop deferrals like this moving forward.
I feel bad for Bobby Bonilla. Because 10 years from now, we're going to start celebrating Ohtani Day, and it's just going to, like, $68 million.
Lord willing. I mean, he's got a lot more faith in it than I do. I would love to celebrate Ohtani Day. I'll take that right now.
Just getting there?
Oh,
just
yeah.
Earth getting there?
Dude, I'm trying to get past next November.
I legitimately have never had the thought, ever, in the history of contracts given. It has never occurred to me, the idea of having to consider, well, is the economy, not just baseball's economy, is money going to be the same thing 10 years from now if we're all fighting, if all the countries are fighting over money and we're destroying the earth because oil makes money and all of that money is coming to sports?
I think Mike is wondering whether or not we're going to be here, period, as a planet.
Understood.
Yeah.
And before that, though, the economy will collapse but that's in the way these steps work, Stugotz. It's economy falls first, then Earth, not Earth. Earth collapses, and then there's one person at a bank saying, "Where'd the economy go?"
What's Earth without money?
Surviving. I know your entire Earth is money.
I don't think you really need to worry about the Earth collapsing, because if it does, like, you're dead, right? So, like, if you're living in constant fear of the Earth not existing, you're kind of wasting your time, because you yourself are not ever going to stop the Earth. I mean, no offense. I believe in all of you as being these great people, but There's nothing any of you are going to do to stop the Earth from not existing if that's what's going to happen.
Just got to buck up against it and say every vote counts.
I just want to put it out there, Dan, that if it's better for Meadowlark, I'm willing to take an Ohtani type deal, where you want to like promise me a lot of money on the back end, like 7 or 8 years from now.
Oh, really?
I'll take a discount, but you got to come correct though. With
all right. Well, we might do that though. We might do that.
Back end of deals.
We got about.
Did I just screw myself?
We got about 18 months left on our DraftKings deal.
Dogecoin.
For the team, I'll do it.
Okay, but did you hear what I said? We have about 18 months left on our DraftKings
That's an
deal.
important detail, Chris.
I'll gamble on us.
10 years from now.
But I'm going to need a big promise on that back end.
How much is that Odell Beckham contract that was like half crypto worth now?
Unfortunately, I think that Jeremy is ready to give us his list, but it has been too slow. He thinks he's a high achiever, okay? He gives off high achiever. I expected that faster, Jeremy. You've got 5 payments, but now we're going to have to wait for it because your timing is a little slow, and Winnie the Pooh's all jacked up on honey, and your game's not quite where it needs to be yet, and so we will wait a second. You have fouled up the timing for a couple of different reasons in the first hour of this show. I also haven't been able to talk enough Dolphins because of you. Cody, did you have any thoughts on Ohtani?
Yeah, I wonder what's next.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.